lovers. I am so blessed and honored to be in a position to share, tools and tips and tricks that have the potential to heal and to bring you to a place of full sexual embodiment. And one of the tools that I absolutely love and have been using for the better part of a decade are crystal yoni products, including pleasure wands and yoni eggs. And I was so excited to recently come across a brand called Wands, Wands. I met the founder here in Austin and I absolutely loved who she was. I love getting to know the people behind the products that I like to use. And I just loved her mission to really support women and men to explore, celebrate, and honor their sexuality. I felt this transmission of slow, sensual seduction in all of who she was and all that she brought to the world. So I went ahead and gave it a try. I purchased a blue quartz Emerita wand, and the Emerita wand is great because it has this like cool bulby end on it, which is designed for G-spot and cervical stimulation, but can also be used for prostate stimulation. So it's great for men and women and can even be used between partners. So I'm so honored to have built this relationship with her and to be able to offer you guys an amazing discount code. So if you use the code Leola, Leola, that will give you 15% off all products. And the website is wands.com, WAANDS.com. And we'll go ahead and link that in the show notes as well for you. So thank you so much for listening. And also you're welcome for the inevitable pleasure and healing and ecstasy that is coming your way with these products. Let's dive into the episode. Welcome to Talk Tantra to Me. It is such an honor to be holding space for this divine knowledge to make its way into your ears and lifestyle. Back on the podcast today, we have Andrew Lloyd Watkins.
Hello.
Husband.
Hello, wife.
Hi. Howdy, everyone. It's been quite a journey with Andrew. We have been together for a year, pretty much exactly now. I think our first date was a year ago today, now that I think about it.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Yeah, baby up. And we got married last weekend. We had a little courthouse wedding. And we're going to share today a little bit about our journey with getting married, having the legal thing done, what it's been like, this roller coaster of a week we've had. And if you're curious to know more about Andrew, there's an episode of the podcast called Well-Being as a North Star where I kind of interview Andrew and we get a little bit more of his unique medicine on the podcast. There are also a few other episodes where Andrew and I chat, including Play Party 101, which was a more recent episode where we talked about what to expect at play parties, the kind of play parties that we host, things like that. And there's a few other episodes, High Vibe Relating Part 1 and 2 we did not long after we first started dating. And I also have an episode called Manifesting Your Life Partner, Part 1 and 2, something like that. Andrew is not in that episode. He's not a guest. It's just me
but
speaking.
It's about me.
But Andrew is heavily referenced, and it is about our love story.
Yay.
So, Andrew, welcome back on the podcast.
Hi.
How does it feel?
Thanks for having me. I'm so honored.
So honored. You're the most prevalent guest now. I've had a few guests on a few times, but you are on the most.
The most repeat.
The mostest.
I think that'll be pretty common going forward.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, it felt really organic and natural to weave you into this work in my life. Andrew it's just without a doubt is the perfect partner for me in every way, good and bad, in the shiniest, brightest moments and in the most challenging moments. He is the man who holds me like no one else has, and he also triggers the shit out of me so that I fucking grow, because that's what it's about. I think that's the misconception with a lot of relationships, is that we think that we want this like peaceful, easeful relationship, and yes, there is an element of that, and we've created that for ourselves, and it is in the friction that we have the growth, I find, and that we get to learn more about ourselves.
Yeah, from the masculine perspective, I had this idea that, and this is nuanced here, and I'm not talking in absolutes, but I had this idea that, my partner, my wife, my girlfriend, or whatever, my life should be easier with them. And in many degrees, that's true. And there is this uniquely feminine trait of like more and moreness and calling forthness.
Yeah. And I think we talked about that actually in length on the episode, which I didn't mention already, which was, what's it like to date a sex priestess or something like that?
And sometimes I'm like, I don't really feel like being tested right now or being called forth. I kind of just want a nap.
Yep. And that we experienced some of that.
And there's sometimes when she wants a Louis bag, and
yep. And sometimes when you tell me I'm going to get you a wife Louis bag, and then
these are your words. These are your words.
You said it on the day we got married.
No way.
All right. We're not going into that right now.
I would love to go into that right now. That would be great for the viewers.
No. Well, maybe if it organically weaves back as we tell the story of our wedding. But anyways, so we got married just after a year of being together, which is, I think it seems like to me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the right amount of time. But I think for a lot of people that seems very quick. We got engaged after 6 months. We were talking about rings the first week we were dating.
Yeah. When you know, man. It's just, It was so clear to me it was going to happen. And like everyone's got their own timeline, right? And in the end, the only time will tell in aggregate whether it's a good move to get married this quickly or to wait longer. I've heard arguments on both sides. Ultimately, I don't give a shit. It's like what works for you. And
we're ready.
For me, it's like I know I was very clear on what I wanted. I was very clear on what I needed, and you fit that and more. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And, I'm almost 40, and it's like I've dated a ton. It's like I know it when I see it. And I saw a lot that wasn't right for me, and I wasn't right for them. And it was such an obviously clear fit. And so why wait? I feel like I'm going to learn, so what I hear to steel man the other side, what I hear a lot about waiting is, you want to find out what the other person's crazy is and see if it kind of matches with your crazy. And you want an opportunity for the other person to see yours. And I'm using crazy playfully here, by the way. And
or like, what's their shadow?
Yeah, it's exactly.
That's going to be a thing that even as they work through, there's going to be new layers and nuances to it.
Totally. And I feel like that process is never done, but in my experience, I kind of like at the beginning, we're all meeting each other's representative, and it's also like that new relationship glow, and a lot of those hormones are coursing through our bodies, and so it's very difficult to really get to the real because the body is literally designed to be like, you two are enraptured, nothing can ever go wrong, everything will be perfect and rosy forever, and that's just the feelings coursing through the body with new love, and giving time to let that subside and let like the rest of the experience of being someone come to the fore is 100% wise. I don't think it takes 5 years for that to happen.
Yeah. And I think that it doesn't take 5 years for it to happen, especially if you're really fucking authentic and you are self-aware and you're willing to be vulnerable with your partner. And I think that those are things that come with being committed to the sort of lifestyle and growth mindset that we are. I remember, though, I was in a relationship in my late teens to early 20s with a man. We dated for almost 4 years. And in the end, I had ended it. And when I ended it, he had said I was going to ask you to marry me this year, which was difficult because I had wanted to hear that for so long. And it was really sad to let that go because I really did see a future with that person. But we were very obviously growing in different ways. But I remember when the relationship ended, that I said to myself, okay, that's crazy because I was going to marry this man and we dated for 4 years. So in the future, I have to date someone for at least 4 years before we get engaged. But obviously I was a different person at that time. Like I hadn't done, and who knows where we're going to be at 4 years. We've kind of committed to this idea that out is not an option. The boats are burned. And so divorce isn't on the table, but who knows, in 4 years, I might want it. There might be a part of me that's like, fuck this. And we've agreed that that's not how we're going to operate.
Well, I'll speak from my own perspective too here, where it's like, also in my early 20s and whatnot, it's like, I don't even really know who I am. And I'm not here to claim like I know who I am but I definitely know way more about myself than I did back then.
Same.
And there's just so much growth that happens from 20 to 30. Yeah. And I mean, anyone who's not there yet, just imagine how much growth you had between 10 and 20, right? That's a lot of growth. It's a lot of time, both physically and emotionally. And a lot happens from 20 to 25 and from 25 to 30 and then from 30 to 40 as well. And so for me, it just crystallized. I was once told by a dating coach that it's really not a finding problem of the partner, it's a filtering problem. And the older I get, the easier it was to filter, because the clearer it became what I actually really needed and wanted and desired in a relationship. And so when that puzzle piece came in and it just looked like thump, I was like, oh,
sweet.
Oh, great.
Finally.
Awesome. And so let's verify that, right? And that's what the dating for the year was for. And for sure, my shadow came out during that time period. And
mine
sure,
too.
Yeah, for sure yours did. And I was like, okay, I'm game with this. If this is what it is, I'm game.
Yeah, I think pretty quickly we saw what each other's shadows were, and we also saw the clear friction points that, I mean, we have the same kind of argument over and over again, and so you get clear on like, oh, what is the power dynamic, and what is going to be the thing that we have probably forever that we work through and that we're constantly adapting to.
You just want to call it out for everyone. So
sure.
Yeah. So, and it's like, so and tell me if you weren't thinking of the same one, but we're both really stubborn motherfuckers.
We are.
Like we both really love things the way that we love them, and we have really strong opinions and reasons for why those ways are the quote unquote best way.
But for everything, not just the big things.
For everything, like even as small as how I like my socks folded. All right, so I don't even think actually Leola knows this, but I used to do the like tuck the sock in and like kind of like turn it into like a little balloon kind of situation.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, that is trash for socks. It ruins the elastic and reduces the lifespan of the socks. Just ask Marie Kondo. Right? Yeah, and for
that's
me,
where it comes from. This crazy woman.
The Marie Kondo method is amazing. Check it out.
I don't trust her.
She owns.
I think she's heartless.
She actually, you might love her now that she owns, like she actually traded off her tidiness for spending more time with her family.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she actually admits, she's like, you know what? I actually did it's all about joy with her.
Yeah.
And it's a joy calculation. And in her mind, previously, she was indexing for this tidiness and bringing her so much joy and getting rid of stuff that wasn't serving her anymore.
Yeah.
And then she realized later on, she's like, I'm spending all this fucking time folding bullshit into these tiny fucking squares when I could be spending time with my family. And was like, I'm going to index to that more now because I'm going to lean into that joy.
Okay, cool.
So at the end of the day, I think you just agree with her. It's her methods are all about building joy in your life.
Yeah.
And then you find out where the joy is.
I think the thing is that I'm inherently a maximalist though, and she's inherently a minimalist. And
True.
It's like a little like here's the thing. I respect her. I respect her a lot, actually. And I'm not buying her fucking ugly little boxes.
I love her boxes. And
they're like cardboard boxes that she's selling for God knows what.
Good for her. If she can sell a cardboard box for $45, God bless her.
Oh my God.
Hashtag capitalism. But long story short, I like the folding of socks. They're more space efficient and they increase the lifetime of the sock. Now, Leola and I, we've never fought about the sock thing before.
It's just an example.
But that's an example of how I like my things my way. I have a reason and an idea, and Leola likes things her way, and I'm sure she has her reasons for folding them in an inferior manner.
And it's these comments that really... that dig.
They're really constructive, I'm sure. And so we can go something as like insignificant and tiny as that, and something as large as like assuming my last name.
Yeah.
Right. And opinions.
We
on
should
both
talk
sides.
about that, actually.
Have you never talked about that?
I don't
on the
think
podcast?
we've talked about that.
Let's talk about it. It's perfect for the marriage thing.
All right. Well, should we tell the story first, or should we just go into that?
Let's go into it. So,
Can I tell it?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Go ahead.
So when Andrew and I were falling in love, which for those of you that have listened to the podcast before, you know that was in Fredericksburg about a year ago. We had a friend trip, and there was this night where it happened. And on that night, Andrew was asking me, what do you want? And was kind of insistent on getting a real authentic answer. I mean, my first answer to what do I want was, something along the lines of a sexually liberated world. Like it was like the
Which was true.
It's true. It's like the Miss America, like world peace answer, and so but he was persistent. He dug a little deeper, and that's when I started to share, I want a family and I want this kind of community and all these things. And that was the turning point for, I think, both of us in realizing, we actually want the same things. Because I think Andrew didn't realize that someone like me would want some of those more traditional life experiences. So anyways, we get on this topic of family and this and that and last names. And I had mentioned I would really like to make up a last name with my husband. I think that it would be really cool to come up with a word together that represents who we are and what we're creating, rather than adopting this this practice that is inherently more ownership based and patriarchal in a way. I'm not inspired to take a man's last name, and I also don't want to keep my last name because it's the same idea either way. So for me, like, how fucking cool, we can just come up with something ourselves. And I love that. I still like, that would still be my top choice. However, and Andrew at first was a yes to that. He was like, okay, yeah, I like that. And we had even kind of started playing with some name ideas. And after we had been dating for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, he came to me very vulnerably and shared that he wanted to keep his last name. And why was that, babe?
Yeah, and not just keep my last name, but have you assume it as well.
Yeah, it wasn't just I don't want to change my last. It was like, I also really want you to take my last name.
Yeah, and in the moment when we were talking about coming up with a new one, it felt really good in that moment. And then when I had time to think about it, a bunch of stuff came up for me, both on the light side and the shadowy side of things. And on the light side, it was like, well, here is a legacy. My last name has a legacy, thousands of years old, tracing back, Welsh last name, very common surname, Watkins. And, I loved it. I had this attachment to it, and I really didn't want to let it go at all.
I think it's different for men.
And and I'll get to the shadowy piece with that for sure. And thinking about, like, I don't want to be the one breaking the chain of my lineage, of thousands of years of this name being passed down. And it was my father's last name, and I love my father, and I want to honor him. And my father died a couple of years ago, and he was my best friend. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it didn't feel right anymore.
Yeah. I think that was one of the biggest, that had an impact on me, because I felt your father as well.
And you felt my heart in that, and the authenticity. Yeah. And then also on the more shadowy side of things, and to be totally honest and vulnerable, I was like, I'm not going to be some like cucky type dude who like gets his like liberated lady to convince him to like not have his last name anymore. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't down for the hyphenated thing, because I'm like, well, you take that to absurd, like take that to its extreme. Then if our kids hyphenate and then they're going to have these like 45 like name long last names that make no sense anymore. And so all of that encapsulated, I laid that out with Leola.
And I was pissed.
She was pissed.
I was really disappointed, because I had always had this vision of making up the last name. And I'm going to encourage our kids to do it. I'm going to plant the seed. But yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer for me, and it ended up becoming this like very regular like disagreement for the first 4 or 5 months of us dating. I think it was like 4 or 5 months.
Oh yeah, we would fight about it a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Anytime it would kind of come up, and it would tease into other kind, and this goes into our desire for control.
Yeah.
As well, right? That our stubbornness.
Yeah, and neither of us could give in on principle.
So yeah, and exactly. My memory of it being like anything else that came up that was like reminiscent of someone else wanting the control in the situation, the like last name thing would come up.
Yeah.
As like the root argument.
And there was this piece for me of, you agreed to do this and now you changed your mind and now I can't trust you because you're going to change your mind about everything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, totally.
Yeah, that was big.
That's like a side thing, but also just in general, guys, my experience, and this is not just in the relationship I've had with you, but almost any relationship, I will think like out loud of things that could be cool and fun. Right? I'm like, you know what would be cool? Like, what if we like went to fucking Europe for like a month and just like,
what if we got a puppy?
What if we did that? Like,
I have the best one. I'm gonna get you a Louis bag for being a wife, and I said to you, so our therapist has suggested to me to, when Andrew gets in this like mode of like dreaming up something, and when I say something, like when I don't share an idea or plan for something unless I'm like probably like 80 to 90% there. And then Andrew will get frustrated because I'll share it and he'll be like, you already made up your mind. Why are you asking my opinion on this? Whereas for me, when Andrew shares something, I'm like, cool, we're going to do that thing. And then I get frustrated because we don't follow through on it.
Well, what Leola's hearing is not following through. What I'm thinking, I'm literally thinking out loud and fantasizing
and wanting to make
loud.
A decision together also.
Exactly.
But she has asked me to begin saying to you, when I notice this happening, is this something that we're really doing? Or are you just are you just thinking out loud?
Yeah.
And that's become and I asked you that about the bag and you said, no, I really want to do it. So
I personally feel cornered right now on the podcast now. To be like, yes, you get
good.
My favorite line, right? So my favorite line. So I talk about this bag, and I'm like, it would be cool to get you. It would be cool to get you a Louis bag, like as a wedding present. That's what I said. It would be cool to do that. I didn't say let's go get one.
You said I kind of want to get you. Like it was like that. I
kind of want
you.
to,
yeah.
Right? So I'm like, this is me thinking out loud, right?
But then I asked you.
For those who don't know, and I don't know what y'all's financial situation is, but like the Louis bags that we're looking at, they're like $5,000. And in my head, it's like $5,000 is like, that's like a trip for us.
I agree.
And so
I will take either one, by the way. I will also take the trip. If you'd rather do that, just let me know.
And it's funny. It's just, I got Leola a Louis bag after our engagement for like an engagement slash like for birthday slash like birthday kind of thing. And the funniest that one of the funniest things that Leola ever said in like a tiff that she had was like,
it was a joke. This was all a joke.
Jokingly, but also also not joking at the same time.
But mostly joking.
Was what am I supposed to do with this girlfriend Louis bag?
No.
I walking around with a girlfriend bag. I need a wife Louis Vuitton.
What I said
bag.
was, no one's gonna know that I'm married because I have a girlfriend bag. And it was because we were arguing, and one of the ways that we dissipate our arguments is to bring humor to it, and that just diffuses it all. So I knew in saying that I would get you to laugh, and it would be like we're chill.
It was
worked.
So funny. It was great.
And
I resonated with it. I was like,
great.
yeah, it's with the upgraded status of the relationship, you kind of need more.
Need a big girl bag.
Part of the fun of buying Leola expensive things is like it's this like symbol that like I have so much that now I can provide for her, and it's like extra advertisement for how well I take care of her.
Yes.
And it's a form of showing the world, much like an engagement ring or a wedding ring is, like, this is the woman that I have claimed, and then also this is our status of my claiming of her.
And it is
so
high.
getting the Louis, like the wife Louis bag is like, well, the girlfriend Louis bag is like this one, but now you get a wife Louis bag, and like go ahead and parade around that and show how you have been claimed by your man.
And I love flaunting it. I really do. And
I love when you flaunt it.
Yeah. And just to give a little backstory too, I had never had like a new designer bag ever before. Andrew was the first man that bought and then started my addiction. Andrew, on the other hand, actually worked at Louis Vuitton in college, right?
I did, yeah. I sold handbags for Louis Vuitton in college.
Okay, so I'd love to get back to the name thing. And one thing that I wanted to say about the name thing was I wanted to make up a name that meant something, that like had like special meaning. So we had played with a few options, but when Andrew decided that he actually wanted to keep his name, he was trying to sell me on his last name, Watkins. What does Watkins mean?
Well, there's the etymology going back hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands. And kin is just kin, so it's people. And watt, now this is kind of fudging it a little bit. So watt was discovered, that unit of measurement, by, I forget the physicist's names, but his last name is Watts. And so I was like, so watt is a unit of power, and kin means people. And so our last name would mean people power. And like that's
power people,
people power. Like that's incredible if you ask me. It's pretty great.
So that was his argument. And I really had to give him props because it was well crafted, knowing me. And it was also hilarious. And I was like, no.
Still a hard no.
Not
convincing it.
No. But
so all right. Well, that begs the question, babe. Like, what actually got you over the line?
Yeah. So I think it was a combination of things, but it was months of us kind of going back and forth about this, and feeling like in my highest moments, I would be like, look, in reality, this means so much to him, and what a gift it would be to him for me to just take it. And it clearly means more to him than it means to me. And what it does mean to me is that if I get my way, then I have power. And so my lowest part was like, oh, I'm giving up my power. And it was this fear narrative. And then there was this middle road of like, but I really want to make up a name. Like it's really what I want. But clearly that it's not happening. And you know, we had talked about, well, maybe we go see someone and talk to them about this and get more clarity, whatever. So we kind of been going back and forth about that. And but what ended up happening was we were in LA and we were flying home, and I was on the website picking our seats, and I like the window seat. Andrew likes the aisle seat, and no one likes the middle seat. I am willing to take the middle seat. I'd rather take the middle seat and sit by Andrew in the aisle than have a seat in between us every time. But my equal understanding of the relationship, or my assumption, was that half of the time I'll sit in the window and Andrew will sit in the middle, and half of the time I'll sit in the middle and he'll sit on the aisle, and we'll switch back and forth. And
I want to speak on the equality piece. So on its face, that sounds equal. However, I'm a roughly 200-pound, 6-foot man, and you are roughly 120-pound, 5'5"
5'8".
5'8" woman. And those two things in the middle seat are not equivalent.
So again, now here we are in another power struggle in LA, and he's arguing this, and I'm like, ugh, like I was getting frustrated, and I end up saying, if you take the middle seat, I will take your last name.
Deal. Without even batting an eye.
Without a pause. And I'm like, wait, what? What did I just do?
Deal.
Is it like
cinch it, shake on it now.
So we had some negotiations following that, and so the agreement was that forever, not just for this one flight, forever, I would get the window seat, he would take the middle, and I would never have to sit in the middle seat
ever again. So I got something that I really wanted. And I get to choose the first and middle name of all of our children, but they take his last name as well. I was like, sold.
And that feels right, because I get something that I really want and that's important to me, and I love to travel too. So it's like, it's a big piece. And then the other option is you can buy your way out of that. You can just get us business or first class.
I can, but then I have to ask myself, is $9,000 really worth it?
And you get to have that debate, and I don't have to, and I get to reap the rewards of it regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the end, ladies and gentlemen, I am Leola Watkins.
Yes, she is.
Mrs. Leola Watkins.
Mrs.
I'm a Mrs.
You are, yeah. Mrs. Leola Watkins.
Realize
yes.
I'm a Mrs.
Wife.
now. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay, so that's how we chose our last name. But anyways, back to we got married. We got married a week ago. On our year anniversary of dating, we decided to do a courthouse style wedding. We have the intention of doing a bigger celebration with both of our families, which I'm really excited about. I really want our families there. It was
Me too.
So we're going to do that probably next year.
I think there's importance in that too, because a marriage to me is really not just about us.
Yeah.
And in a way it is, and in a way it really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And vows are really powerful. And I think part of the power of having it with our families there is that we are vowing in front of our community and our family
and our kin. Watkin.
Yes. what we are, how we are going to be with each other.
Yeah.
And so because it's one thing to make a vow pretty privately to each other. It's a whole other thing to say we will be doing this and striving for this ideal in front of the people that we love most in this world. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it as well. And I didn't want to fucking wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one of the foundational pieces for Andrew and I mean, there are many intentions, obviously, for us being together, but one of them, and I had this on my list of things when I was manifesting a partner, I put something along the lines of our relationship is evidence of what's possible in terms of higher love and new earth intimacy. And by sharing our vows, which were non-traditional, in front of a group of people and showing a different way of uniting souls is exactly that and very powerful. And we didn't want to wait. We were ready. And I think it's also us to kind of do a little non-traditional thing, 100%. Just the two of us, very intimate. And then there were some other benefits too, some legal benefits.
Yeah. I mean, now that we're married, right? She can go on my health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance. And then there's like a bunch of tax savings as well for us being married and filing jointly and you having your own business and things like that. And it's like, well, if we're doing this, let's do this.
Yeah. Cause the funny thing is like neither of us are really like super state oriented people. We don't, I mean,
I'm more state oriented.
You are. I'm like, fuck the government kind of, but also I'm grateful for it, but to me, it's like declaring our union to the government, like means nothing to me except for the savings of money, but declaring our love to each other and in front of the people that we love, that is like everything to me.
Well, to me, like marriage, it was really funny. I was asked, and I could tell there was like a tinge of like sus about the institution. And I was asked by someone who had this, why are you and Leola getting married? Like, why get married? Why not just be
together?
Like together, like life partner kind of things. I said, yeah, that's a good question. And for me, marriage, among many other things, but primarily it's about creating a family unit under one like column or one institution, namely marriage here, and starting that family with you and I, and then bringing children into the world that all share a common name and a common unit, and providing that consistency and that stability and that foundation for those children to go forth and like, this is my mom, this is my dad, that they're Mr. and Mrs. X, right? In this case, Watkins, and this is our family. I don't know how I got there. I just lost my train of thought.
What was the point of doing?
Yeah, exactly. And then as far as the law side of things goes, it's like, if anything were to happen to me and anything like any of it, just like legally stuff just makes so much more sense when we're married. And there's so many, like, God forbid something horrible would happen to me. And especially when we had children, there's just certain automatic things that happen when Leola's my wife instead of my partner.
Yeah. So there is this piece on just we're in a game, whether we like it or not, and playing it to our greatest advantage and not making it mean anything that it doesn't need to mean at the same time.
Yeah. And as far as the state goes, I have a very different perspective. I have almost a Socratic perspective on the state in this regard. And no judgment for folks that have other opinions than I do.
Such as myself.
So like my wife. And so for those that don't know, Socrates, the famous Greek philosopher, was kind of a pain in the ass. And because he would be asking really powerful people really annoying questions that they couldn't answer. And
he was like killed, right, for doing this.
So to my point, so yeah, he was brought in front. They were like, the Greeks were like, we got to fucking do something with this guy. He's super fucking annoying, and I kind of don't want to deal with him. So they bring up this kind of bogus case against him and sentence him to death. Now, Socrates is also super popular and has lots of fans and advocates, and they were like, hey, man, like, we can help you get out of this. We can help you get out of here. We can help you escape. And Socrates says no. He says, if the state that has raised me, I would not have all of the things that I have and be in the position that I was if it was not for this state. The state created the institutions and the systems for me to be able to even be here, to be in this place. And if this state says that I am to die, then I am to die. Now, whether or not you believe that, that's great. That's fine. It doesn't really matter. But I take a perspective like Socrates when it comes to the state for me. Now, if they sentenced me to die for some bullshit reason, I wouldn't be that highfalutin as Socrates was. But and this isn't to say that there isn't huge problems with our current government, our current state. That said, like, the roads that it built and the schools that it created and the systems that it created provided me with opportunities to, like, where I would not be where I am without them.
Yeah.
They, I speak English. I have a basic education. I live in the most prosperous country in the entire world, where I am free to travel wherever I want to travel and learn wherever I want to learn and acquire any skills I want to acquire.
Yeah.
And I can travel to some of the most abundant cities in the world and take part in the opportunity in those cities. And for that, I'm grateful. And so while there is vast room for improvement with our current systems and structures, and there are a ton of folks who don't benefit nearly as much as I have.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for them.
They say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is something that I really resonate with. And as I've invested in living a tantric lifestyle, my relationships have evolved and become so much more juicy and liberating. And I believe that this is something that everyone deserves. However, finding these people can be a little bit challenging at first. And so it is my mission to create more spaces for people to find individuals that are resonant with the tantric lifestyle, that are really resonant with you, the listener, the person who is investing their time into living a life that is expansive and liberating. So with that, I'm committed to creating more and more safe spaces for people to discover their desires and practice their boundaries, to connect in community, to celebrate and to grow together so that we can all step into a more authentic version of ourselves and experience truly unconditional love. So we have Tantra retreats for men, women, couples, singles. We also have female-only retreats just for the ladies stepping into their divine feminine. We have play parties. We have Tantra workshops, Tantra yoga, women's circles. We've got all kinds of really powerful in-person events. You can find all the details at www.talktantratome.com/events. You can also just go to talktantratome.com and click the events tab to find out about all the latest and the greatest. And if you're wanting me all to yourself, I can't blame you. I also host private retreats for both individuals and couples. Those are one-on-one. You get me all to yourself. And I'm available for private Tantra workshops and performances. And this is great for events like your birthday or maybe a bachelorette party or bachelor weekend. We can talk and create something that will be extra special just for you. So I cannot wait to connect with you in real life. But for now, thanks so much for your patience with this brief interruption, and let's get back to the episode. Yeah, it's the classic conscious creator perspective that you're taking. There's the victim that's like, to me, it's a very victim mindset to really get caught in what's wrong and blame, especially in a country like America. However, I agree. There's lots of things wrong, but there's also a lot of things that are right. So taking the best out of the situation, running with it, and doing our best to stand for the people that need to be stood for at the same time.
Well, I heard this not too long ago, but the way to choose a mode of thinking or a way to view the world isn't whether or not it's like logically like the most correct, but is it the most effective for living the life that I want to live. And even if I was the most oppressed and most downtrodden and all of the systems were built against me, which mindset is going to have a better outcome? And that is, I am powerless to do anything over my current state because all of these systems are against me, or I can and will do something about this.
It's like Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl.
Bingo.
It's a great book. If you haven't read it, it's just incredible. It's about Viktor Frankl's experience in the concentration camps and how he survived really in the worst experience you can probably have as a human, one of the worst at least.
Yeah, and if he can find meaning in the concentration camp,
you can find meaning in America.
For sure. For sure. And there's just so many leaders that we can point to that I think everyone would be aligned with their impact, that if they had a different perspective, they wouldn't have had the impact that they have, i.e. like Gandhi, MLK, these types of humans.
And one of my favorite things about being Andrew's wife is that at the end of the day, we get to the same conclusion always, but
so
we have
true.
Different ways of getting there. And where we get caught up is my way is better. But if we could just trust that we're going to end up in the same place, we're like golden. And it's so powerful too, because the things that Andrew does to align with the practicalities of being a human and things like managing our finances and listening to all the political debates that I don't want to fucking listen to. It's great because he does all of that stuff and can give me the DL so that I have an understanding of all of the things that allow me to be an educated individual. But he does the legwork with that. And there are other parts of the relationship or in our lifestyle that I do the legwork in, and he gets to benefit from my work and my way of being.
Yeah, the way I picture our dynamic is like I have a pretty like straight edge, normally type job that I'm super grateful for and I love, and I can provide a certain baseline of quality of life and consistency, financially and otherwise. And what that allows and that provides an opportunity for Leola to take advantage of that consistency and stability to take larger and larger risks.
Yep.
And I love that dynamic. It's like cool. I view it as like a barbell of risk. Like I can be on the safer side over here, and then Leola can be on the other end taking moonshots.
Yeah, and that might evolve throughout.
Yeah, for sure.
Should we share our vows?
Sure, baby, go ahead. You got it pulled up.
So yeah, we did. Do you want to just open this?
Yeah.
We did. Basically, the ceremony was our friend Sophia officiated. Sophia's been on the podcast a few times as well. I'm also hosting retreats with her. She's an amazing soul and human, and she's been married to our friend Gabriel for a few years as well. So we have this like little quad dynamic where we do a lot of hangs and things, and it just felt very natural for Sophia to be the one that officiated. So we had a set of vows that were written by us that we read aloud to each other. And then we also had sort of a declaration in the ceremony of rings that we had Sophia have us repeat aloud. And this declaration was adapted from Conversations with God, book 4, which is an amazing, Conversations with God is an amazing series. It was like the gateway for me into spirituality. But we kind of took some of the pieces that they had and just adapted it to fit us more. So I'll read it. I, Leola, ask you, Andrew, to be my partner, my lover, my friend, and my husband. I announce and declare my intention to give you my deepest friendship and love, not only when your moments are high, but when they are low. Not only when you remember clearly who you are, but when you forget. Not only when you are acting with love, but when you are not. I further announce before God and those here present that I will commit to see the light of divinity within you and commit to share the light of divinity within me, even and especially in whatever moments of darkness may come. It is my intention to be with you forever in a holy partnership of the soul, that we may do together God's work, sharing all that is good within us with all those whose lives we touch. Only 2 people can make the sacred choice to commit to each other in this bond of marriage. It is not a religion, government, or individual who declares what only 2 hearts can declare and 2 souls can make real. And so now, as you, Andrew, and you, Leola, have shared the truths of your hearts and intentions of your souls, we observe joyfully that you have declared yourselves to be husband and wife. It's good. And I'd like to just highlight a couple of things that were really important to me. One was that we didn't say till death do us part. We said, it is my intention to be with you forever in a holy partnership of the soul.
I love that.
Yeah.
It transcends death.
It does. We also said this piece on sharing all that is good within us with all those whose lives we touch. So again, it's that fact of being evidence and having our relationship be this net positive creation for the world.
I just love the idea of being able to annoy you even after we die in the ether.
Great. Can't wait. Yeah. And then the other piece that I really liked was like, it is not a religion, government, or individual who declares what only 2 hearts can declare and 2 souls can make real. Because normally they say something along the lines of, and I now, by the power of the state of Texas, I now declare you husband and wife. And it's like, fuck that. I love Texas, clearly.
I love Texas too, but they don't get to tell us whether we're married or not.
Yeah. And we observe joyfully that you've declared yourselves to be husband and wife. So yeah, we were very intentional about what our vows were and also what we had Sophia say to really align with our values and our truth as well. Should we read the other vows?
Yeah, the one-on-ones. Yeah.
So then we also had some like vows. And in the vows, we had some that were, most of them we shared with each other. And some of them we had that were separate, depending on our unique. Oh, are those ones yours?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sweet.
I put them in the book.
Do you want to read yours?
Yeah. So we both read the ones from adapted from Conversations with God, and then we wrote our own, like what I like to call the amendments. So we had the Constitution, and then there were some amendments.
Love it.
To add on to. So I vow to love and respect you as an equal partner, to be honest, even when it's hard, to keep a healthy body, mind, and spirit, to continue my personal growth with the intention to grow together, to come back to love, to take personal responsibility, to give each other grace in our imperfections, to fill our house with laughter, to provide for you, to protect you, to place our relationship above all else but God, and the boats are burned.
So those last few were specially written by Andrew. And then, but the most of them, the first chunk of them, we both read to each other. And then the ones that I had added were, I vow to be your ride or die. I vow to respect and honor you as my God, husband, and man. I vow to love courageously, fiercely, and loyally. I vow to always be this authentically me for our highest good. I vow to make my beingness proof that life is worth living. I vow to place our relationship above all else but God. The boats are burned. Out is not an option. And I think that was a big thing for us too. Like when we first started dating, like it was like the very beginning, we decided that out was not an option and that we were committed to this. And so since we had already made that commitment to each other, I think that was another thing that, expedited our decision to get married, because we were already like, well, we've already kind of decided this, so let's just like get it on paper.
It's so true. In my mind, this was forever from very early on.
Yeah.
So
we got married. So basically timeline, I had a little mini bachelorette Wednesday. Then Thursday we went downtown and stayed at a hotel near the Capitol where we were going to get married. Yeah. I did a nice little ritual for us, preparing us.
So cute. Yeah, it was. So Leola had all these like tinctures and potions and scrubs and oils, and we like ceremoniously prepared our bodies for marriage the next day. Like took, I don't know, an hour or 2 hours or what have you to like put scrubs on and facial stuff on and like oils on and just get entirely ready.
Yeah.
To be betrothed.
Indeed. It was this like kind of like the king or queen in preparing each other for that.
Oh, it was great. I loved it so really much. Special. It was beautiful.
So we did that. Then the next morning we woke up, had some time, just the two of us, ordered some room service yummies, and our friend Thea, who has been there since the beginning as well, came by and, took some snappy snaps, some photos of us while we got ready. Andrew said he wanted to get me a wife Louis bag. Yet to happen, but it's coming. Just wait, guys. I'll bring it to the next recording.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So got ready. Then we went down. Sophia and Gabriel picked us up, and we drove the 3 minutes up to the Capitol. And I thought it was really cool. As we arrived at the Capitol at 11 a.m.
It's true. We did.
It's pretty wild. And then we strolled around. You want to share about where we ended up deciding to do it, and why also you wanted to do the Capitol? Because that wasn't my choice. Andrew, by the way, Andrew planned pretty much all of this wedding weekend, this like official marriage thing.
Yeah, I chose the one. It's just a beautiful building, and there's nice little nature outside as well. Just the grounds are very beautiful, and so I felt like we could go into the architecture of the Capitol. It's really beautiful, and so there's like 5 floors of these circular balconies that look down onto the main floor, and it's very, very beautiful. Yeah. And I thought we could go towards like the top of one of these circular balconies and kind of say our vows there. But when we arrived to the Capitol, there's this like very agitated man giving speeches on the first floor that are echoing throughout the entire main cavity of
very
the Capitol.
Passionate, transphobic like preaching.
We're like, well, I really don't want to get married to this. And one of the folks at security, one of the sheriffs at security, could tell we were getting married. We were both in white, and suggested there was this outdoor foyer balcony kind of situation, very, very similar to the indoor one, just a bit smaller and outside. Yeah. That said, it was like 105 degrees that day, and we were like, let's see if we can find something inside. We keep searching around, and nothing is really resonating inside. Yeah. And so, all right, let's check out this outdoor foyer spot, and it was perfect. It was 2 floors. First floor, circle, star in the middle, outside, sun shining right down on the star, and then the second floor, balcony. And we get out there, and there's a crowd there, and it's pretty noisy out there. And as the officiating starts, you could hear a pin drop.
It becomes silent,
and it's like everyone had left.
Yeah. And
Sophia, our officiant, is doing a beautiful job. I'm becoming overwhelmed by emotion and just marrying this amazing human here. And we share our vows, and we start to kiss. And as we kiss, there's like this cacophony of applause and cheers, and the silence wasn't people leaving, it was just folks giving respect to this sacred moment in time for us. And then my little performer came out, and I loved that there was a crowd that cheered
I was
for
a little
us
annoyed.
after we got married. I loved it so much, and I felt, and so we were giving our first kiss, and I'm feeling this compulsion to please the crowd and give them the respect that they gave us, and acknowledge them for their acknowledgement of our love.
Yeah.
And Leola is like, "What the fuck, dude? Keep kissing me. This is our first kiss."
It was the first moments of the first kiss were incredible, and then Andrew started to pull away, and I was like, this is our first kiss. What are you doing?
And I'm like, the crowd requires its queen
God.
wave.
His little ego. Is the man I'm marrying, and
it is,
or I've married, and I love it, and perfectly.
And it's also frustrating.
Yep. So that was really beautiful. I'm curious to do a tour of the Capitol now and hear a little bit more, because you've done that. I haven't done that, but
it's a cool tour. It's free. Yeah. It's a cool tour. Learn about about Texas history. It's pretty rad.
But yeah, it was really special. So we wrapped that up. Then we went and got oysters and champagne.
Yep.
And with the crew, Sophia, Gabriel, who is Sophia's husband, as well as Thea, our photographer friend. And then we drove out to Fredericksburg back, which again, we fell in love in Fredericksburg. So it felt right for us to do our little mini moon there as well. And this was another thing that Andrew planned entirely, which is a really big deal, because Andrew does not like planning trips. He likes planning like logistic things like finances and stuff like that, but planning like trips, it's just like not a thing that he enjoys.
It's not, because I really just don't like travel in general.
Mm-hmm.
I love where I live. I'm like, I have curated a phenomenal home, and I live in my opinion, the best city in the entire world, Austin, Texas. And it's like, why would I go to any other inferior place when I have a beautiful situation here at home?
Which I can't deny. I did like the digital nomad thing for 3 years. I love to travel, and I've never been more excited to come home. And I think it's partially because of Austin. It's partially because I'm with the love of my life, and he's often not traveling with me. And it's also because of our dope community here and the life that we've created. And I love to travel, and it was very special for us to just have to go 2 hours away, and knowing how much Andrew dislikes doing these things, but did it anyways to make me happy and to put a smile on my face, was the fucking sweetest thing. And every part of the weekend was tailored to what Leola loves.
It was very much like a wedding gift to you.
Yeah.
Like very much so. And so the weekend was planned and filled with nature and wineries and really good restaurants and antiquing and art shopping and all of these things. And so we're having a splendid time in Fredericksburg. It's about like 2 hour drive.
Can I say one more thing about it?
Yeah.
Andrew led us in a really beautiful little ceremony as well.
Oh.
And I just want to drop this in because it was really precious. We went to Enchanted Rock, which is out near Fredericksburg and is this gorgeous national park. And we hiked to the top of the rock, and it's a hot fucking day. Like, most people aren't making it all the way up there, but we made a point. We're going to get to the top of this thing. And he fused our DNA together. Our hairs intertwined them and said a beautiful prayer, just direct channeling, in my opinion, and released us into the earth. And it was just very beautiful.
Thank you, babe.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And so we're having this beautiful weekend. And so it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday planned. And on Saturday night, we get back home from a wonderful meal, and Leola, the spot we got had this outdoor tub that was carved out of this huge rock. And Leola creates this beautiful bath situation for us with candles and flowers and ointments and all the things. And And we finish that up and we get into bed, and it's like 10 o'clock. And Leola's like, I'm not feeling very good. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I think I might have like a UTI or something. And I'm like, really? What like, she's like, yeah. And they tend to like progress really fast with me. And like, I don't have any of like my normal remedies or herbal remedies and stuff, which like stop the speed and of the progression and like abate some of the symptoms. So I think we need to go home. Well, you might need to go home. And I go, okay, well, what are the odds of this like progressing really quickly and becoming really, really painful? And Leo says 50-50. And I'm like, fuck. Cause I have a whole other day planned, for Sunday, and I have a whole bunch of stuff planned for us. It's also our honeymoon kind of situation. We just got married, and we're going to have to cut it short because she's sick. And I'm like, fuck, we got to take care of it. Like we're in this other spot. Like and Leola's is not going to go to like the pharmacy and get like,
the pharmacy wouldn't even have the things they needed either.
So it's like, we got to head home kind of a situation. And I am like pissed because in my mind, I think the saying goes is like resentment comes from like when expectations don't meet reality. And my expectation was like, we're going to get a nice good night's sleep. We're going to wake up and we're going to continue this beautiful like honeymoon. Yeah. And now I'm like driving away from it. And and then just wasted like in my mind, like $1,000 on one of the nights at this beautiful Airbnb that we had gotten. And like my dreams of this perfect weekend being shattered, and also my wife being sick. Yeah. And I can't really do anything to make it better except take her home. Mm-hmm. So we get home
2 hours later,
and it's like 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. And so she takes all of her potions, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like everything's going to be good. And I start going back to like getting ready to go back to sleep and stuff. And Leo was like, it's getting worse.
It's progressing very quickly, really bad.
And for more context now, we're like, well, so we released a podcast episode before this about a threesome. And we had an MMF threesome, in that the person whom we love and trust is amazing called us
a couple
weeks after that. And this is like a month before we're getting married, about from this time frame.
It was only like a week before we were getting married.
About like, hey guys, I just tested positive. I got the call that one of my other partners got chlamydia, and so I'm calling you, and this is that call. So you should probably go get tested for chlamydia. So we had gone and gotten tested
the next day after he called
right away. No, it was like, no, because you're supposed to wait the 2 weeks because it's undetected.
No, he told us like on the Wednesday, and I think we got tested Friday. Like it was like 2 days or the day after. It was something like that, I remember.
And
because he didn't test positive until like a couple weeks after we had connected with him.
Regardless of the timing, right? The important thing about the timing was it takes 5 to 7 business days to get the results back. We got tested on a Friday, and it is now like the Friday before, right? And so it is now Sunday evening. Sunday morning.
We got tested exactly a week before we got married. So it was like seven days had passed, and then the weekend.
So we like TLDR is like we won't get definitive result until like Tuesday. So now I'm thinking like, fuck, is this actually like chlamydia flaring up on our fucking wedding night? Like, motherfucker, what the fuck?
And that's why my things aren't working.
And that's why her stuff isn't working, because it's actually like this progressing, like this STI progressing.
Yeah, because just background, I've gotten like lots of UTIs in the past. I used to have like, it was like almost constantly, and I've healed it a lot. So it had been a while since I'd had one. But I knew what it felt like, and that's what it felt like with the UTI. But apparently chlamydia can also cause UTIs too.
Yep. So I'm like, and then in my mind, and what I also said when we got the call from our MMF buddy was like, why don't we just preemptively go and get the antibiotics for this and get tested as well and just like knock it out. And Leola is like, no, antibiotics like will just wreak havoc on our systems, and like let's not unnecessarily like clog our systems up with antibiotics. And I'm like, all right, fine. So now in my mind, I'm going, well, if we had listened to me, we wouldn't be in this fucking predicament right now, and your pussy wouldn't be on fire, and I would be sleeping, and we would still be in Fredericksburg, and we would still be on our honeymoon.
Blame.
Yeah, blame. Great way. So, and we've been married like 2 days.
Not even. We've been
like,
married for a day.
Like,
for better or for worse, got tested very quickly.
So, I like storm out of the bedroom, slam the door, and go up into our studio and go upstairs to my office, which also has a bed. It's like a whole studio apartment kind of thing. And I text her, I was like, do not wake me up unless we need to go to the emergency room. Like done, period. And I go back to sleep. An hour later, it's 3 a.m. A very soft-spoken, sweet Leola is like, I think we need to go to the emergency room. I've got blood clots. And it's like, if we don't, the internet says if you start forming blood clots, like this could get to the kidneys and become really, really serious. And I'm like, fuck. So I guess
it doesn't end.
It doesn't end. It's just going to keep going. And I will like, okay, I guess this, like the night after or 2 nights after our wedding I'm going to get like, I'm just going to be up
all night
dealing with something that we could have just preemptively dealt with. And we go to the ER. I am huffing and puffing. And Leo was like, you know what? You don't even need to go in with me if you're going to like, I need like support right now. And this is like the opposite of support. So you can stay in the car. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm staying in the car. And so I will come in with you. And she's like, whatever, fine. So I come in, we get seated, to go get seen. And I'm just like in the corner, like a fucking grumpy baby, like huffing. And poor Leola
funny
is like
now, but it wasn't
on the chair, just like all vulnerable. Her pussy's on fire, and we don't know what's wrong.
And I'm scared. Yeah,
and we don't know what's wrong.
That's the thing.
Right? We don't know what it is.
Is it chlamydia? Is it a UTI? Is it something worse? I don't know, because I've never seen this. I've had all these UTIs. I've never had giant clots of blood come out of my urethra.
And so we get seen, and the doctors draw blood, and she pees in a cup, and she gets fucking gigantic stab for chlamydia and gonorrhea all in one.
They decide to preempt it.
Just preemptively.
They do my urine. They're like, you have a really bad UTI. It's not an emergency, and it's a good thing you came in because it could have gotten worse, and it could be chlamydia. We don't know. And it's going to take a week for us to get the results, so we're going to treat you for it anyways. So the treatment for that is a giant shot in your arm. It feels like really uncomfortable.
And after Leola gets this giant shot in her arm, something switches in my brain, and I'm like, you are being a fucking piece of work right now, man, and you need to fucking shift
to yourself.
To me, yeah, in my own head, and like your woman needs you right now. Ideally, I would have come to that conclusion like 4 hours earlier, but I'd not, because I am an imperfect human that has plenty of work to do. And
can I just stop right there?
Yeah.
The reason that I married this man is not because he's the most perfect, regulated, emotionally intelligent human ever, although he is a lot more emotionally intelligent and self-aware than many, many men. But why I married this man is because of the way that he takes responsibility, and also his courage to share this story like vulnerably on the internet, where really anyone could find it. Like, that takes so much courage to be that authentic and vulnerable about the mistakes that you've made, and sharing them from a space of ownership, and also like, I get to do better, and I want to show evidence that like we're not perfect, and we're working through our shit, and you can do it. Like, even though this was really shitty and hard for both of us, I think a lot of people would have been like, well, fuck this. after the second night of, but we're like, okay, like there are things that we did really good tonight, for better or for worse. And because you did come with me still, and you were there, and there were things that could be improved upon, and we're here for it. So
I just start holding her on this like medical table that she's on, and they inject her, they get her other antibiotics. We get scripts for like more of them for an entire regiment or whatever. And we get home, we go to sleep, wake up the next day. And I don't know if it was that day.
It was the next day.
Or the next day, but Leola gets the call. No chlamydia.
In the end, we did not have an STI.
We did not.
Which, speaking of which, when we first heard about the chlamydia from our friend, like at a different part of my life, I would have been super freaked out, and I probably would have just preemptively taken the antibiotics. But at this point, I know lots of people that have had chlamydia, and I've studied all STIs. I actually talk about how most of the hubbub about STIs is, to me, a fear-mongering way to, create more shame and guilt around sexuality. And at the end of the day, chlamydia is not that big of a deal. And most STIs are really not that big of a deal. You just have to take antibiotics. And I don't want to take antibiotics because they'll fuck up my gut. And they often don't work, which was kind of the case. And I had all of these drugs, and then I still had symptoms after taking 3 different drugs that they gave me in the ER. I still wasn't clear of my UTI. And I ended up taking herbal supplements and doing some other gut inducing things. But anyways.
So she turns up clear. I'm clear. I have no symptoms of anything, and I also get clear, get the thumbs up. And so,
so it wasn't all avoidable in the end.
It wasn't all avoidable in the end. And we still don't know what really caused it, honestly. And so that's the first 48 hours of us being married.
It was intense.
Like, oh my gosh. So,
and now it's been a week since that. It feels like much longer. It was like this week was just like, because then there was a lot of healing too, of like, okay, like I'm healing my body, but also we had this traumatic experience that we shared. And then there was healing to do between us to like get back to a place of feeling good and comfy. I mean, Andrew very quickly shifted into the apology and the making up for it and acknowledgement, and it was like, okay, I can't unsee.
I think that's the best case for the wife Louis bag right there, I think, honestly.
All right, you want to go after this?
I also think
you gotta get him when he's like, you gotta go. That's why on the day we got married, I was like, we should go to Louis right after our wedding.
She knows.
You gotta get him while he's like, yes.
Oh my gosh. And I think we're actually like way over time for the pod. So.
Is there anything? Yeah, we're
good. Okay.
We should wrap up, but
yeah.
But yeah, so that was it. That was our wedding. That's how we chose our name. That's how we found out that we didn't have chlamydia. Thankfully, I guess. Although I definitely don't have it after that fucking needle. But fuck, I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed about it because I really dislike taking medication that I don't need. And that was very frustrating. And it's medicine for me too. It's medicine for me to do the things that I hate. I guess. Make peace with it. I don't know. We're meaning making machines, and I'll make up whatever meaning I need to make about it. But I'm just happy that it's through. And ironically, it has really like spurred this like health and wellness for routine for me, because coming off of all of that happening, I'm like, okay, I really want to work on my gut health. And I read this book, Fast Like a Girl in a Week, and I've been like fasting for my gut health, and I've been fermenting vegetables for my gut health and drinking bone broth and like doing all these
I've been eating so many fermented things.
Because Andrew gets it too. Because you took a couple of the antibiotics as well.
I took, but once we got the call that we were clear, I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna.
But even those like couple of doses could have.
Might have. I choose to believe that my gut is made of titanium and is not influenced by any of this.
And I will feed you kefir and homemade pickled vegetables until the day we die.
Yes, you will. So like the light that came out of this is now we pickle our own food.
Yep. there we go. It's really spurred just, I think, overall this like, okay, like now I have this opportunity to really take charge of my health and be the conscious creator instead of the victim. And here we are.
TLDR, too long didn't read. I fucking love this woman, and humbled and honored to be your partner in life.
And it feels good. Being married feels really good.
It does.
Feels right. Feels true. Now I want to do the big wedding. I'm like really excited about it.
It's great. And also the thing about having 3 stages to marriage. So the stages being we get engaged, then we had the courthousey type wedding, and then having a larger ceremony.
Yeah.
Is that Leola has also finagled 3 separate rings.
I have.
So she has the engagement ring. Then you have the
wedding band 1.
The wedding band 1. Yeah. And then she has wedding band 2.
But the thing is like now I look at my hand with wedding band 1 and an engagement ring and I'm like, it's not complete.
We need the 3rd.
I need the 3rd. But you did say if we don't get married by next year anniversary, I could get the 3rd one preemptively.
Yeah,
so
I said that.
You did. So I want to put it on the podcast.
We need like a stenographer for the relationship.
Andrew has the worst memory. And it is so frustrating.
Like Leola could just straight up come up with shit. And
I think you think that I'm doing that all the time. And
sometimes I do. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think I said that.
Yeah, you did. You said that. And I'll have the whole backstory as well, because I have a very good memory, actually.
What I love most about this particular podcast that we did is I feel like this was one of the, like, where they got some really close insights to how we actually really are together.
Yeah.
Just from like our side comments and our little banter back and forth.
It just gets better.
This is a lot like how we are just in real life.
Agreed.
So I think that's a good wrapping up point. Unless you got anything else, babe.
I'm complete.
Cool.
So thank you, husband, for humoring us all and coming on the pod, and also for your courage and your vulnerability.
Thank you, my love.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, it means a lot.
Thank you to the listener for opening yourselves up to the idea of chlamydia and marriage, another taboo and traditional topic.
Love and chlamydia.
We'll catch you next week on Talk Tantra to Me. Ta-ta.
Bye, y'all.